Now, Democratic Congressman John Yarmuth of Kentucky. He's a member of the Budget Committee. Sir, it's good to have you with me. And if we go back to what Dick Durbin saw during negotiations when someone at the high level of those meetings is saying that they can't stand to be in the same room with the president, that really is a great descriptor of how bad things have gotten in Washington, D.C. And it seems like it's not just professional, it's very personal.
Well, you know, I don't think day to day that's the way things are. I think over the last 3 weeks, everybody was on pins and needles. Everybody was in a foul temper. Everybody was depressed and discouraged and frustrated. So I tend to write that comment off as to the temper of the times. I think day to day, most people around here are pretty civil.
All right. So what do you think, though, of Congressman Grayson's fundraising email? And do you think that the president, would you agree that the president should condemn that type of solicitation?
You know, I've learned a couple things in my life in Congress. One is you never talk about the Ku Klux Klan, you never talk about Nazis or Hitler, and you never talk about slavery. So I think that was a mistake on Alan's part, and he ought to apologize for that.
So do you think it should just end with him, or do you think the president should come out and condemn it?
Well, you know, I think the president can't be responsible for what every Democrat across the country does, and you know, if he wants to express himself on it, I think that's fine, but I don't think he's under any obligation to comment on what individual members do.
All right, so despite his vitriol, Ted Cruz is soaring among Tea Partiers, tanking nationally, though. But Mike Lee, who joined him in the fight in D.C., is facing some backlash at home in his district. Business leaders, they'd never support his re-election. So why do you think that Cruz is more Teflon and Lee is feeling the heat more back at home?
Well, you know, there's a bubble that the Tea Party people live in, and Cruz is kind of the one who's balancing that bubble on his head. And, so I think he tends to get reinforced all the time. I don't think Mike Lee has the same kind of national stature that or renown that Ted Cruz does. So. You know, I think Mike Lee has been pretty much under the radar for the most part. Ted Cruz wears it on his sleeve, and so he's got a lot of bluster about him. I don't think Mike Lee has that same kind of bluster. So Ted Cruz can intimidate people. I don't think Mike Lee does.
Okay, if we talk about Obamacare, we know that Secretary Sebelius will head to testify next week answering questions about the federal health website. We know that your home state's governor of Kentucky has done a very good job with Connect and getting the uninsured in Kentucky up and running, and it's one of the success stories in the country now. But as we look at Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, he's among 7 GOP senators who could be primaried because they dared to compromise on the shutdown. Do you think that McConnell will get blowback, or could the fact that Obamacare is actually doing well in Kentucky insulate him from a party attack?
Well, he actually already has been primaried. A man named Matt Bevins is running against him, Tea Party candidate, so he already has a primary opponent, and a pretty strong one. You know, Mitch McConnell has been lying to the people of Kentucky for the last 4 years about the Affordable Care Act, and those lies are catching up to him now because people are beginning to understand exactly the benefits of the Affordable Care Act, and it is not what Mitch McConnell has been representing over the last few years. We've already had almost 400 businesses representing 67,000 people sign up or begin the application process in Kentucky. We've had almost half of insured. 280,000 people have visited the website. We've got 20,000 individuals who are now enrolled in insurance policies through Connect. So we're having a wonderful experience, and the more businesses and the more individuals that find out that the benefits are actually there and they're telling their neighbors and their friends, this is really going to be bad for Mitch McConnell.
But don't you think, though, that for Mitch McConnell, though, it could insulate him, though, and you know, and I should have said successfully primaried by Matt Bevins there, because we know that the Tea Party is dead set against Obamacare. So if it starts working and people in Kentucky reap some benefits early on, don't you think that Mitch McConnell can change his spin and know that there is a compromise that he was able to provide with getting the government back up and running, acquiescing over the Obamacare situation, and maybe in the long run, it could protect him?
Well, I think he's going to try that, and it might help him a little bit to survive his primary race, but it's not going to help him in the general election. I mean, Mitch McConnell has been spending his entire career. He ought to be in an amusement park. He spends so much. But ultimately, the facts are catching up with him, and people realize that Mitch McConnell as in this last episode, basically was missing in action for a long time and then came in to save the day at the end. And I give him credit for finally waking up to the reality of the world, but that's not going to change the dynamic that he faces for the next 6 months or so. I mean, he has people on either side of him that are making it very difficult for him to maneuver. And meanwhile, I think the people of Kentucky recognize that he really doesn't represent Kentucky anymore. He's become a national figure. And Rand Paul on the other side's running for president. So the people of Kentucky are saying, who's our senator? And I think this is really an uphill battle for him.
Kentucky Congressman John Yarmuth, great to see you, sir. Thanks for your time.